noticed? Were you doing
Like I literally did. This early on. The year hasn't even started. Like that was so yeah.
I just got promoted up in recent so late.
Aw, thanks. I guess. He just and she's not resigning. She's like, oh, I'm trying to leave. It's okay to talk about like what you're doing and it's not
I love your transition to college because it's like really good.
Good morning and welcome. With deep appreciation and gratitude to the Quinnipiac people, the indigenous stewards of this land whose presence and care continue across generations, my dear Yale community, please join me in a moment of prayer or reflection. Loving and Holy Spirit, called on by many names, creator and sustainer of life, we gather here today with anticipation and nervousness. As we embark in this next academic year, hold us gently and protect us in times of heartbreak. May our time on this beautiful campus be full of transformation and growth. May we be open to the light others bring to our lives, be present to one another's truths, even when they make us uncomfortable. May we allow ourselves to experience awe and surprise in wonder of the beauty of creation. Remind us to be humble before the vast knowledge of the universe, wisdom that is known, not yet known, and unknowable. Spirit of wonder and delight, help us to embrace vulnerability and grace, to know human beings will never be perfect, and there's beauty and room for growth in the imperfections. Help us continue to move forward despite the fears and worries that linger in our minds. Remind us that failure leads to innovation and creativity. Help us plant seeds that sprout joy and deep purpose. Sacred breath of the universe, we come here today as the fruition of our ancestors' wildest dreams. May we live into being good ancestors ourselves. As inheritors of knowledge and traditions, may we work together towards building a better future for all in our precious global community. May we embark on this journey and grow from strength to strength with compassion, curiosity, and love. As we say, amen.
Welcome, President McInnis, Chaplain Saltiel, colleagues, good morning, and good morning to the parents, guardians, and friends of the incoming class. In my role as Dean of Yale College, I thank you for everything you have done in guiding and supporting these young adults. I'm delighted that they and you are joining the Yale community. Students from the class of 2030. Students from the class of 2030. Transfer students and Eli Whitney students. And Eli Whitney students. Welcome to Yale. You're a remarkable group with wide-ranging interests. About a third of you conducted research in high school, almost half were varsity or JV athletes. A quarter of you play a musical instrument at a high level. Many of you have held summer jobs or participate in student government, robotics, community service, or speech and debate. 20 of you are United States military veterans. You come from over 1,200 high schools in 52 US states and territories and 67 countries around the world. Amidst these varied interests and backgrounds, you also share much in common. You are promising students with wide horizons and an excitement about learning. And together you have come to Yale to pursue a broad liberal education. This is the kind of education that Yale has been offering since it was founded 325 years ago. While the content of the curriculum has changed, the underlying purposes of a college education have not. You come here for many reasons: to gain knowledge, to prepare for a life and a career, to participate in a community. But another important element of your education is your personal ethical development, what I like to think of as flourishing, borrowing a phrase from the Greek philosopher Aristotle. Flourishing as a student and later in adult life is connected to taking responsibility for your decisions and learning how to lead a responsible life. What do I mean by responsible? Before Nelson Mandela became the first Black president of South Africa, he was imprisoned for 27 years on Robben Island, where he often recited an old Victorian poem, Invictus, meaning undefeated. William Ernest Henley wrote the poem, which gets at what I mean by responsible. It describes the horrors that can happen to you, but insists that your unconquerable soul can survive. Here's the poem. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Beautiful, but a little bit grim. The poet lives in a dark, possibly godless world alone, but the poem comforted Mandela. Now, most of us won't be imprisoned for our beliefs, and few, if any of us, will lead our nations out of a system of oppression. Mandela was one of the most admirable people of the 20th century. He aspired to be master of his fate and captain of his soul, and so can we, so can you. One of the things you can learn in college is how to lead a responsible life, how to answer for your own choices, who you want to be with, how you want to spend your time, what job you want to have, what kind of person you are, and what kind of person you hope to become. The Yale theologian Miroslav Volf calls this a life worth living. Of course, most of us can't answer all these questions or even say exactly why we behave the way we do. But the effort is essential. The effort is everything. Henley tells us in his poem that circumstances will always limit us, and that so much of life depends on accident or luck. But in the end, we have to make moral choices with the hand that life deals us. Character. That is what the Greeks called it. That's what the Victorians called this moral process. The Greek word for character was ethos, and ethics, especially for a philosopher like Aristotle, explores the kind of character you hope to develop, the kind of person you want to be or to become. We each arrive at adulthood with certain habits, inclinations, predispositions. We can't entirely control these, but we can shape them. Character is a universal question. It's less about where you come from and more about where you choose to go next. If you're coming to Yale as a young adult, you can ask, and I hope you will ask, who you will be for the rest of your life, including not just what career will you choose, but also what kind of life might you live, what moral values might you want to live by. Now today, character education is controversial. Some conservatives blame schools, colleges, and universities for being too permissive, for not guiding students on proper mores or instilling patriotism, while some progressives promote a different set of mores and blame these same institutions for transmitting the values of a capitalist society that they view as inegalitarian or even oppressive. Critics on the right would have educators speak more directly about moral values, while critics on the left would have us more explicitly question the social and political values of the dominant culture. And in this context, even talking about character can seem prudish or quaint. But American liberal education and a Yale education for 325 years have emphasized the development of character, and I think it remains relevant to college today. The noted psychologist Angela Duckworth emphasizes one dimension of character in her work on grit. Duckworth grew up in New Jersey and went to some of the top educational institutions in the world. She also taught in public schools, where she first developed her theory that certain character traits associated with perseverance and hard work and effort, what she calls grit, are more important for success than innate talent. She founded the Character Lab at the University of Pennsylvania to put her theories about grit into practice in improving character education, especially for elementary and secondary school students. And Professor Duckworth has published several studies showing how grit contributes to success in everything from military education to spelling bees to sports. Grit is very likely what got you here. But there are other dimensions of character that are even more important for living a good life, and these are associated with the more ancient notion of virtue. The ethical dimension of the education you're about to pursue starts with asking what kind of character you want to have, and that means asking what virtues you want to cultivate, a theme that Aristotle and Confucius explored around 2,500 years ago. Aristotle thought that cultivating virtue was the key to flourishing, to the best life for human beings. Among philosophers today, this approach is known as virtue ethics. He emphasized such virtues as generosity, friendliness, and truthfulness. And importantly for Aristotle, all the virtues involve a balancing act, what he calls a mean, between having an excess of a certain quality and having a lack or defect. For example, a virtue that's recognized in many cultures is courage. For Aristotle, the absence of courage is a defect called cowardice, but there's also such a thing as excessive courage, which Aristotle calls rashness. Today, we might tend to think that every virtue has one opposite, which is a vice, but Aristotle thought of every virtue as being in the middle of a spectrum, having just the right amount of some quality, and neither too much nor too little. Thinking about virtue this way seems particularly important today when we're so prone to cast social and political struggles in polarized terms. It's a profound mistake to believe that you and your allies are uniquely virtuous and that your opponents are vicious or evil. Now, the great Chinese philosopher Confucius lived a little earlier than Aristotle, and he too counseled the cultivation of virtue. Many of the virtues he describes resemble Aristotle's. The most important of Confucius's virtues is humaneness, which combines the idea of fairness and charity towards others with an awareness of your own human limits. Like the Greek philosophers, Confucius also emphasizes wisdom. He is reported to have said, "To say that you know something when you know it, and to say that you do not know something when you do not know it, this is true wisdom." And needless to say, it's a very important part of pursuing an education. Here we see the idea that wisdom consists in knowing the limits of your own understanding. In these ancient philosophers, we glimpse certain timeless virtues, and we also perceive the fact that no single list of virtues can be entirely comprehensive. Yale and many other universities were founded by churches, and the gowns that we put on for ceremonies like this one have their origins in priestly robes. But professors today are not here to preach to students or impart our own moral or political values. We do, however, have our own responsibility, which is to ask you, our students, to confront moral questions. Our job is not just to be role models in the sense of morally respectable people of good character, but we also must model moral inquiry for you, our students, which means encouraging you to ask questions, including questions about the kind of life that you want to live. Now, we can't just assign readings or even exercises or problem sets that will teach you how to be friendly or courageous. Rather, the hope of a liberal education is that by living and working together with others, you as a student will make the connections between your studies and the kind of person that you want to become. Thus, the ethical dimension of a liberal education is closely connected to the social dimension. Character is not a list of rules or attributes from antiquity or holy texts. At the heart of character is a question, not a rule. Character asks you, even challenges you, to discover your values, to articulate them, defend them, even change them in the face of new knowledge, and above all, to learn how to live by them. And that's what I mean by living a responsible life. The kind of life in which you take responsibility for your own actions and you can answer for your decisions. And again, I don't just mean being responsible to your parents or society or some abstract sense of duty, but also being responsible to yourself. If someone asks you, why are you living that way, you should be able to give some kind of adequate answer to that, and you should be able to live with your response. To me, that is the essence of living an excellent life as a human being. And ideally, during your time here at Yale, we can help you learn to shape your own characters to the point where, at least within the limits of circumstance, you are masters of your fates and captains of your souls. Thank you, and again, welcome to Yale.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Dean Lewis, Provost Strobel, and all of our colleagues, I'm so gratified to say to each and every one of you, welcome to Yale. Today is a beginning, and beginnings are grounds for celebration. But beginnings are also encounters with uncertainty. Parents, I've gone through, with my own 2 children, this paradoxical ritual called moving in, because moving in also means they're moving out. And like you, I've climbed countless flights of stairs, hauling too many boxes of, "Do you really need this?" And like you, I've felt all at once pride in my children, bewilderment at how briskly time passes, and hope for their future. Hope that they will live their lives as only they can live them, in ways all their own, beyond even my most imaginative predictions for them. This is the joyful indeterminacy of parenthood. Like parenthood, the most important endeavors tend to be undefined, without a fixed process or an assured conclusion. Students, you too are about to embark upon an undefined journey, one without a predetermined ending. Because what will define your Yale education is freedom, the freedom of intellectual exploration. We want all of you to commit yourselves to a kind of egalitarian curiosity, one that embraces every variety of knowledge and debates even the most agreeable assumptions. But a lack of constraints is also a lack of guarantees, and that can be disconcerting. I came to Yale in 1989 also without any certainty about what my future and how it would unfold. But knowing that I wanted to study art history among some of the world's most original thinkers and amid the nation's best university art museums. 37 years later, those museums remain my favorite places on campus. And I hope soon they'll be among your favorites too. Especially since on the 3rd floor of the Yale University Art Gallery, there's a painting that might help you welcome uncertainty. And you can see it projected on the screen. And you can visit it later today because the gallery will be open from 1 to 5. It's by an artist named Ed Ruscha. The canvas is dominated by a formidably jagged mountain painted with almost hyper-realistic precision in a palette of stony grays, glacial blues, and frigid whites, framed by a completely flat blue sky. But seemingly floating above it all is discordantly a word, a most unexpected word: level. It runs across the middle of the mountain in a font Ruscha created and named Boy Scout Utility Modern. The word then also becomes the painting's title. So we have a word that not only denotes flatness, but is also literally flat, superimposed over an image of chiseled and precipitous verticality. To most of us, this makes no sense at all. And a natural human impulse is to try to make sense of the unknown. But Ruscha himself recommends a different approach. He said, art has to be something that makes you scratch your head. So what if instead of lunging for an answer, we let ourselves scratch our heads? What if we gave ourselves the freedom to explore the contradiction? We could begin by considering our own personal associations. Humans have long turned mountains into metaphors for our challenges and our accomplishments. And for many of you, the peak on this canvas might remind you of your journey here. It might call to mind all the mountainous cliches that you have traversed. You may have endured an uphill climb. You may feel that you've now reached the summit. You may be enjoying the view from the top, or you may be worried that what goes up must come down. And yet the blocky two-dimensional script splashed across the summit speaks to other questions. Have I leveled off or flattened out, or have I plateaued? A head-scratcher, indeed. Questions like these can't be answered except by living through them. And you'll encounter more than a few during your time here. I hope when you meet such paradoxes, you'll remember that Yale admitted you for a reason. But I also hope that you'll revel in your uncertainty, because it is a quintessential human emotion and a definitive part of the human condition. Machines don't feel uncertain, but humans do. And though humans can now ask machines for answers, no machine will ever replace human questioning. I hope, too, that you'll find in your uncertainty inspiration and wonder, and perhaps sometimes even a little fear. Those are the contradictory emotions that sit at the heart of awe. Awe can be inspired by gazing up at a mountain tens of thousands of feet taller than you and tens of millions of years older than you. But awe can also be inspired by not knowing, of running into something that's beyond you, something that exceeds explanation, like this painting, or it exceeds prediction, like the 4 years ahead of you. I hope you'll allow whatever uncertainty you're feeling right now to become this kind of awe. And I hope you'll feel it again when you're puzzling over a seemingly unsolvable problem set, or when you realize that two opposing ideas are both somehow valid, or when you aren't sure what internship to pursue or what grad school to apply to. But of course, you can't dwell in the awe of uncertainty forever. The deadline for the problem set drops upon you, or graduation somehow already looms, and you have to choose. So when it comes time for you to make both the minor and the major decisions in the thick of doubt, there's another mountain I want you to remember. It's the world's second tallest mountain, K2. In 1938, a group of American climbers traveled to Kashmir to become the first people to summit what's been called the Savage Mountain, and what's considered an even more arduous climb than Mount Everest. The expedition included a 25-year-old Yale alumnus named Bill House. He had been the president of the Yale Mountaineering Club, and his preferred collegiate pastime had been climbing on the buildings around campus. Presumably our gargoyles make fine handholds. I'm obliged to clarify, though, that such climbing is against the rules. 3 years after his graduation, he and his fellow mountaineers were beholding K2, all 28,251 feet of it. That's as tall as Harkness Tower stacked on top of itself 130 times. And he felt what he described, an indefinable dread. I imagine the whole expedition was wondering, would they make it to the top? Would they survive at all? Their preparations, though, had been comprehensive. They needed, for example, to ensure a reliable food supply. So they tested dozens of brands of biscuits. They dropped biscuits from high windows to gauge their durability. They left biscuits outside all night in a rainstorm to see how they held up to moisture. And when they found the perfect biscuit, they bought 100 pounds of it. Once they were on that mountain, they followed, as far as they could, the route of a previous expedition. They relied on the past. But eventually, they reached a height where President could no longer offer guidance. And they disagreed on the best approach. Debating in freezing weather, oxygen deprived, exhausted after trekking back to camp through a snowstorm, they had plenty of excuses to foreclose discussion, but they nonetheless listened to each other for hours because they recognized that the questions you care about the most are precisely the ones on which you should invite the most disagreement. And nor did they ever stop assuming they were friends. They played chess on a foldable board. They read to each other from the Pickwick Papers of Charles Dickens. They sang old folk ballads about the Klondike Gold Rush. They recognized that community doesn't depend on agreement, but on commitment. Commitment to extend goodwill and to assume good faith on the way to a shared goal. And though they differed on how they should attack the mountain, once a plan was agreed upon, each one of them did their part. Bill House's part included free climbing a 100-foot crevice. This is considered one of the most challenging sections of the mountain, and it's now called House's Chimney. But not even bravery, skill, or teamwork guarantees accomplishment. When the expedition was less than half a mile below the peak, they had to turn back. But they had still gone higher than anyone before them, and they were able to do so because they relied on one another and prioritized the success of the entire expedition over individual achievement. 16 years later, the course they mapped was used by the expedition that would become the very first to summit K2. And it remains the standard path today. Failing to fulfill an ambition isn't necessarily the same thing as failing. Students, though your climbing may be metaphorical, the lessons here apply just as well. Strenuous preparation, mindfulness of the past, the generosity of disagreement, the necessity of friendship and community, faith in the incomplete. These are the routes that I hope you will take up the mountain of uncertainty. And there's one further hope I have for you, which is that you'll remember you're not alone in not knowing. Yaleys have been learning through uncertainty for 325 years. In 1701, at the first ever Yale's Board of Trustees, our founding Congregationalist ministers asserted, "There shall be, and hereby erected and formed, a collegiate school, wherein shall be taught the liberal arts and languages." This formative declaration recalls the original derivation of the phrase liberal arts. Liberal, in this context, comes from the Latin for free. And though our university was originally envisioned as a sanctuary of Calvinist orthodoxy, freedom of thought has always prevailed at Yale. In those first decades, our library housed more than a few Puritan texts, but it also included books on Galileo and Newton and Descartes, Stoicism and idealism and empiricism, anatomy, medicine, world history, and all manner of doctrinal controversies. Theologian John Calvin was studied alongside philosopher John Locke. Both students and professors were often discomforted by this collision of ideas as apparently contradictory as a painting of a mountain interrupted by the word level. But even amid perennial demands for censorship, all those bewildering books remained in the library. Yale is a place where you are free to be uncertain, where you are free to be uncertain along so many other courageous thinkers who want to step beyond what they already know. Uncertainty isn't something to fear. Uncertainty is something to welcome. Uncertainty propels the search for knowledge because there would be no learning without uncertainty. Uncertainty ties you to generations of exceptional students who've preceded you here, who've scratched their heads over the same questions, though they may have offered different answers. And uncertainty ties you to the students who will come after you, who will inherit your answers and ask their own questions. The abiding lineage of knowing and not knowing should provoke awe. The awe of joining a community that spans centuries. Class of 2030, may the next 4 years teach you that uncertainty is not a boundary, but a bond, not a cause for anxiety, but a summons to partake in a collaboration that transcends you. May you learn here how to be uncertain together. Thank you, and welcome to Yale.
Time passes quickly here, everything new.
From all corners of the world, we've gathered today, a glittering tapestry of experience and wisdom, ready to embrace a new year together, to build community and engage in self-discovery. As we mark this life transition, may we do so with self-compassion and tenderness, knowing even the hardest goodbyes leave room for hellos and new beginnings. May our feelings of homesickness be replaced by feelings of groundedness and belonging. May this campus be a place of transformation, joy, and purpose. May we be a blessing. May we move with hearts oriented towards justice, minds open and curious, arms outstretched and full of compassion, souls filled with patience and grace. Let us go forth today with the knowledge that each of us is precious and needed right here in this moment. May we journey forth inhaling love and exhaling shalom, salam, shanti, peace, as we say, amen.
Good morning. I'm Professor Jeffrey Dauma, the director of the Yale Glee Club. We have the great pleasure to introduce you to Bright College Years, our unofficial alma mater, and a song you will hear and sing during your time at Yale. In 4 years, at Class Day, on the day before you graduate, and surrounded by your classmates, we will sing it together again. I invite you all to join in, and as generations of Yaleys before you have done, wave your handkerchiefs while singing the song's last line, for God, for country, and for Yale.
Bright college years with pleasure rife, the shortest, gladdest years of life, how swiftly are ye gliding by. Oh, why doth time so quickly fly? Thank you.